been specializing in tech for about 3 years now. I did some work at Google and at Facebook before coming to UserTesting. So about 3 years in total. I don't think I ever really consciously chose tech marketing. I think that I was always just intrigued by the organization, by the culture, the values, the company. Obviously, at the very beginning, it was really interesting to do some contract work at Google and at Facebook because of the very well-known brands, and it was cool to just go into those organizations, and then from there, developed more knowledge around the space, which then probably led me to user testing. But for me, it was this opportunity to work with this organization in particular because of much more than just what the product is, but it's what the company stands for. So I don't necessarily think I chose tech marketing. I think maybe it does choose me. Well, at the moment, obviously, it's indoors at home all the time. So a typical day in 2020 is maybe not a typical day in normal circumstances, but a typical day at the moment is really just getting up, getting coffee, and probably getting some air before really diving into the day ahead. I do like to prioritize activity for the day ahead because I have a lot of meetings. So I have many back-to-backs, which means that I might only get like the occasional half-an-hour slots to do actual work. So I have to be super strict to myself on those spaces of time to actually move the needle, as they say, on certain projects, or just write things out that I need to get done, contact people I need to contact. But in terms of projects, the projects change all the time. So I could be meeting with different team members all the time, different customers all the time. I try and engage with customers as much as I can as well. And so that I would say it's very much like meetings, and for me, the European team would be in time zone, but later in the day, I'm meeting a lot of our US colleagues as well. So it's a lot of Zoom at the moment. Before 2020, it was probably a lot more with travel. We were traveling to London a lot, to the US a lot, probably meeting more customers face to face. And no exact typical day, but just trying to move things along as much as possible. And at the moment, that can only really be done via Zoom, unfortunately. I think the biggest marketing challenge to date sticks out as being 2020 for sure, in terms of top of mind, really because it was a whole plan created that then just got binned. It was just that of like in-person events and all these things that we were going to be doing, that we were going to be traveling for, and that all really had to stop. So I think it was the shock and it was the feeling of like, how can we jump into what our customers and everyone that really follows user testing needs to know about right now. Like, how can we help from our side? And really, it was just about trying to enable people to listen to their customers. We were really saying, like, now is the time to be figuring out what your customer is thinking, feeling, and doing. And I think that we were successful in the fact that we, didn't necessarily jump in the virtual event bandwagon, but, we were starting to do obviously things more virtually and engage people in more consistent ways. For example, I started a webinar series in April. And it was every single Thursday morning that was interviewing different research, design, product leaders from different organizations, from small startups to huge, massive enterprise companies. And that consistency and that weekly engagement really was a great marketing campaign because we were able to generate a lot of interest and get a lot of great content, and being able to leverage that and slice and dice it and create it across video and blogs and all of that sort of stuff. So there was different campaigns that we ran that we wouldn't have usually ran because of the opportunity to do a lot of things in person. But I think that push to just think outside the box and go, what can we do that is not going to saturate the market in terms of all these virtual events. So we just lasered in on our customers and thought, well, what do they want to be hearing right now? And really that's, they want to be hearing from industry leaders. They want to, not necessarily just us giving them all the information only from ourselves, but we were trying to engage thought leadership from, people that were in similar situations going through the same, and sharing that content, I think, really helped this year. But we did, as a marketing team, we did the whole pivot thing as much as possible. And I do think we were successful, but it was a challenge. So to choose what's important when everything's important is always going to be a challenge. I think it comes down to radical prioritization against the business goals, because, you know, especially for a B2B tech marketer that works in SaaS, you're very much aligned with sales. So if there's too much on the plate and there's too much going on, it's very much like, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. What was their initial goals for this quarter? What are the sales team trying to achieve? Who are they going after at the moment? How can we support that? And I do think it's really about being really, really prioritized across what are the key goals of the business. Because as marketers, we get a lot of creative ideas and there's loads of really fun stuff that we want to do. But if things become a bit too overwhelming, and choosing what's important will ultimately come down to, well, what's the business goal? And for B2B tech marketing, that is very much, you know, speaking to the sales team, making sure that we're creating the pipeline for them. So if we're off doing other things, and it's still important things that we know is important for brand awareness, but ultimately it's always making sure that you're tying everything back to, this is going to make a difference for this team and our business and how we're going to reach our goals for the quarter or for the year. My future predictions for the marketing industry, in 2021 and beyond, is really that we as a group are going to become a lot more human in our approach to creating campaigns. I think that it's now, from my experience working at UserTesting, where, you know, feedback is the key, I have realized that in my career I've not taken enough feedback at all. And I think that when you think of the next best-in-class marketer, I think that's someone who really knows their audience. And if we really know our audience and we're not assuming everything all the time, then we must be speaking to customers, right? So we've basically got to be the ones responsible to test more campaigns before we launch them. I think that is the next big thing for marketers, because right now we rely on a lot of other people for the answers, the data, the data analysts, or the market research team, or agencies, and that not being in our grasp and not taking control of that will become an issue, because we're going to be more, you know, distance from our customers, from our target audience of who we're actually trying to market to. And I think that lack of knowledge and empathy for our customers is going to create issues in the future. So I think that the next biggest thing for us as marketers is really to dial into what the customer thinks, feel, and does, and take more control over some research ourselves. And sometimes research can sound scary to get the research done on your campaigns, but it's literally, for us, we launch a test, goes out to the market, we get it back, you know, by the time we sit down for lunch, it's there. Some answers from our target profiles of what they thought about the campaign. Did it resonate with them? Any feedback? You know, if there's a big, massive worrying feedback that came back, we'll go back to the drawing board. And I think that helps you ensure that the actual marketing that you're creating is centered around the customer, because we talk a lot nowadays about building products around customers, but not enough people talk about building marketing campaigns around customers, which is just a bit bizarre if we're the ones that are actually showcasing the voice of the company, but we're not dialed into enough what the customer thinks, feels, and does. So for me, I think that would be the next huge focus area for marketing in 2021. I think the biggest opportunities in marketing, well, as I said, definitely be connected to customers and speaking to customers. But beyond that, I actually think partnerships. I think that people, organizations working closer together, if you're kind of playing in the same space, we work closely with partners that are in the customer experience space or in the testing space, maybe on the more on the quant side. And that, I think, can just expand your audience so much bigger. I think that working and sharing insights across companies just gets you out of that silo and gets you out of just that box you're in within your organization. And you're able to share insights and feedback and just intel and education with each other. And then that can just bring together, a whole way that you can just look at a campaign completely differently by doing it with, a fellow colleague or, another company, a partner that you work with, or someone else that's a key thought leader in the industry, partnering with those other organizations and influencers, I just think will have a really strong impact on the amount of people that you can reach. And obviously this does depend on what size company you are, what sort of team you do work in. But I think it will be a great opportunity for us to leverage that so much more as marketers, to think more of the connections we can make and how we can look at campaigns in a whole more of a partnership focus. The one thing I would change about the marketing industry, if I could, would be to cut a lot of jargon out and a lot of crap. I think that, it's sometimes with marketing, it can be that you will be just trying to be as active as you can across platforms and trying to do this, trying to do that. But I think that the key message gets lost a lot. So I think for me, even this is one of the biggest reasons that I even thought, do I even want to do marketing? Is because a lot of the things that you see sometimes that campaigns across multiple different channels can be full of, I don't know if I can swear or not, bullshit. So, for that perspective, I like to keep it real. I like to keep it very definitive and educational and get to the point. And maybe that's just, the Brit in me as well. Is like in the UK in marketing, you're very much direct, you're straight to the point. And I like being like that. So if there was one thing I could change, I just wish that as marketers, we could just get to the point faster. Well, pre-2020, I think would be the same as post-2020. The biggest advice that I would give to someone starting out in tech marketing before 2020 would be, really don't over specialize. I think that as marketers, we become obsessed with specializing in a certain area, which I think is great further along in the career, like once you really know what you love and what you're good at. But I think sometimes it can be a bit too premature for people jumping straight into it and thinking that they know for sure they want to be an SEO specialist or a demand gen specialist or content specialist. And my advice would be give yourself the time to figure that out. Give yourself the time to taste loads of different experiences of working with different teams and just getting the sense of what feels good to you, what comes natural, where you think you need development. And I think getting that all-round experience across multi-channel marketing just makes you a better marketer, because when you're in one team further down and you are specialized, you'll completely understand what the other specialized marketing team is going through as well, because you've been there. So I think it's not pigeonholing yourself too early. Give yourself that chance to experience different roles within a marketing team so you really know what you want to do.